Warm spiced cauliflower and chickpea salad is one of my favourite simple suppers. It relies on those two basic ingredients, but transforms them. I want the cauliflower in small florets, or as small as the constraints of my patients will allow. I can't take much credit for this transformation because it's all down to the warm spices and the heat of the oven. It's just a bit of regular olive oil, and now the spices. Just a little cinnamon to evoke the sweetness of a balmy night in Morocco. And I'm going to be a bit heavier handed with the cumin, a spice that's irresistible to me. I want to disperse the spices in the oil to stop them clumping in the oven later. And now, in these go. The oil is just enough to help the spices stick to the cauliflower and to stop the cauliflower from drying out in the oven. Roast cauliflower is a glorious thing. It doesn't hurt either that there's very little washing up involved. Right, this goes into a hot oven, and I mean hot. I don't need to wash this up. I just add the cauliflower's partner in crime, some chickpeas. You can use canned chickpeas too, but the ones in a jar are really lush. And to these, I want the heat of harissa, Moroccan chili paste. I'm dolloping in quite a lot because both the cauliflower and chickpeas can withstand a bit of fierceness. I love the way the tomatoes almost ooze into a dressing in the heat of the oven. Cauliflower has already lost its Victorian pallor, and things are really going to brighten up for it now. Love having an implement in each hand. Makes me feel busy, but in an unchallenging way. And this goes back in just so the cauliflower cooks a little more. The chickpeas are already cooked. And the wonderful thing about the oven's heat is that the cauliflower will soften, but it doesn't get soggy. I'm grabbing a hefty amount of parsley because I don't want it as mere decoration, but as the salad leaf itself. I know there's quite a lot here, not that it's stopped me before, but this is fantastic cold as well. Pack lunch tomorrow. Salt and some gorgeous ruby jewels of pomegranate. And a final flourish of parsley. I find this sort of cooking just the perfect way to decompress, and I am going to continue my relaxation program with this. I need some bits and pieces for my curry tonight, and this being a butternut and sweet potato curry, there are no prizes for guessing what I'm going to get. So let's slice butternut, sweet potato. I think I can get another one. Now you can use ground turmeric in this curry, but what really makes the difference for me is using this fresh turmeric, these little rhizomes, and you can see they've got quite a tender pinky oranginess that's peeking through the skin. Once you've peeled them, they are so intensely orange. They're very, very bright. I have to say that intense oranginess does get everywhere. So before I start, I peel the turmeric just using a teaspoon and then chop it up, and I leave it in a bowl ready for all the other paste ingredients. To the turmeric, I add roughly chopped red onion and chilies. Then I slice fresh ginger and pop that in too. Next, I chop some garlic and add that as well. And then on to the dried spices. First coriander and then a little cinnamon. Finally, I sprinkle in sea salt, and all that remains for me to do is blitz everything together. Glorious! And now I need this rambunctiously vibrant paste to make my rambunctiously vibrant curry. Now, whenever you cook with turmeric, you must never use a wooden spoon unless you don't mind it getting stained. And here's one I stained earlier. In fact, I've stained quite a few in my time. I just want to cook the paste just a teeny bit, let it soften. Well, no more than that. Now, good cans of coconut milk separate into a thick part on top and a watery part underneath. And it's the thick part I want in now. And the rich creaminess of the coconut milk is so wonderful against the fierceness of onion and chili, garlic and turmeric. Cooking, like the rest of life, is all about balance. On that note, I'm going to add the rest of the coconut milk. And you can see it is quite watery. And now some vegetable stock, and that's to say hot water and vegetable stock granules. Just to thin it a bit. The coconut milk, the butternut squash and the sweet potatoes are sweet. And I want to add a note of acidity with these canned tomatoes. All that remains to be done is for me to add the butternut squash and sweet potato. I'm going to drop them in very gently, otherwise I'll get splattered with orange. Might do anyway. And while caution was a wise plan, my impatience is getting the better of me, and I'm just going to add the rest now. And this now needs to come to the boil. Now I'm serving rice with, let me show you. It's this black Venus rice from Italy, because I just adore the drama of the black rice against the orange curry. I mean, you can serve whatever rice you want. I'm going to leave this to cook at a simmer with a lid on. I'll get on with my green sauce and then just put it in a bowl to go out on the table, and people can just dollop spoonfuls on their bowls of curry as they eat. To make this coriander and jalapeno salsa, I tear up an entire bunch of coriander. I want the stalks as well. Then I add roughly chopped fresh green jalapeno peppers. Now some roughly chopped garlic and a good sprinkling of sea salt. pour over vegetable oil, then finely grate a couple of limes. Then my old favourite Mexican elbow comes into play, and I squeeze the juice into the bowl. And now I simply flips to mix. Hello, I'm crying. Right, I'm ready. I'll label.
Again, it looks good.
School meals when I have a label.
Oh, look at that. 1 spoonful or 2 spoonful of the sauce?
I think 1, and people can add more as they need. Yes, you can splodge. You can
Oh, it's a
splodge.
splodge, yes.
Please, sir, can I have some more? Okay, chin chin, amici.
Buon appetito.
Cheers.
Thank you. No, if you've been on
No, it can be. It can
Very
be.
comforting. Yes.
But anything you can eat out of a bowl is comforting. You can keep your eggs Benedict. My first dreamy mouthful of these Turkish eggs, and I was utterly sold. The thing is, I think you have to taste it to understand it. That's to say, a poached egg on garlicky yoghurt with a chili butter sauce on top. But it is not only a revelation, but a complete sensation. That's Greek yoghurt there. I need a clove of garlic that's minced in. And sea salt flakes. I cannot eat eggs without a lot of salt. Although traditionally the yoghurt's cold, I like this to be just above room temperature. I suppose you could say Turkish room temperature. So I've got a pan here of water that's come to the boil and is now just hot. The gentle heat underneath the bowl makes the yoghurt less thick than when it's fridge cold, which is what I want. So that's the garlicky yoghurt, and it can just sit here. And now for the butter sauce. So I need butter. Don't be tempted to have the flame high. Just be patient, it'll happen. If it gets too hot, it'll just spit at you. And this is it, beautiful and hazelnutty. So to this, heat off, I add some extra virgin olive oil. And now my beautiful red pepper flakes. The Aleppo pepper. And as I stir, these foam up fierily. And this will stand very happily while I poach the egg. The water's almost come to the boil, so I'll get my eggs. I always keep eggs out except when I'm poaching them. I've had a pathological fear of egg poaching for so long that I have devised certain steps that have made me now preternaturally calm when I poach an egg, eager to poach an egg. So, rule 1, fridge cold, it just keeps its shape better. Rule 2, crack the egg into a tea strainer and let the watery bit of white drip off underneath. It's this watery bit of white that, when you poach it, would turn into stringy fluff. I sometimes miss this stage out. I mean, if it's just a poached egg on toast for me in the morning, but Turkish eggs deserve the very best. And now, rule 3, gently transfer the egg to a cup or a ramekin. And instead of adding vinegar to the poaching water, I add, I suppose, about a teaspoon of lemon juice just directly onto the egg white. It makes the white sort of go and hold its shape better. And now, let's see. I'm going to slip the egg in very gently. Make sure your cup is as near to the surface of the water as possible, and then turn the heat down. I don't want to see any movement in the water. I cannot eat Turkish eggs without a hunk of toast to dip in, so toast on, and I want some dill sprinkled over. So peaceful when the water's that low. So while the egg's poaching, I'm going to add the yoghurt. Just a few splodges. Don't need too much. And now, gently lift the egg out, drip off a teeny bit of excess water, and there we are, on top of the yoghurt. Perfect. And the sauce, I'm going to pour that both over the egg, but some around the edges of the yoghurt, like a chili butter moat. The dill. My toast. Perfect timing. Oh, and this is just the best breakfast in the world. Now, a rice bowl is generally a bowl of rice that is topped with an array of vegetable ingredients. I like to keep it rather simpler. I do need short grain brown rice. It has nubbiness and nuttiness, but not that jaw-aching, endless chew of long grain brown rice. I also need raw unfiltered apple cider vinegar and some mixed seeds, and I'm off. The rice has had 25 minutes simmering, and now I'm just going to let it stand for a few minutes. Perfect, it's absorbed the liquid. And that's the thing about short grain brown rice. It takes so much less time to cook than long grain brown rice. And now I'm going to get on with my few but choice ingredients. Ginger. As you can see, I like a lot of ginger. But there's something else I should have told you about the rice. Normally, there's a fixed rule with cooking rice. You need 1 cup of rice and 2 cups of water. You always have to go by volume. But with the short grain brown rice, I need 1 cup of rice and then 1.5 cups of water. It works perfectly for me. Right, some radishes. I adore the peppery juiciness you get from radishes, as well as the crunch. I tend to quarter these. Sometimes I cut them into 1/8, depending on how much slicing I want to do. Bit of coriander. I want some leaves whole and some just chopped. I make this when I have a girlfriend coming over, or if I have a wonderful quiet time to myself. Makes me feel very zen. The rice should be ready now, and all the ingredients can be mixed together. When I say all, not that many. Just scrape it out of my little pink pixie pan. I'm not normally much of a vinegar person, but I find that raw apple cider vinegar has a fresh sourness, really sprightly. Just need a bit. Obviously, it's to taste. Bit of saltiness from soy. I like quite a lot of seeds in this. I've got pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, flax seeds and sesame seeds. They add crunch and really boost the rice as well. And I want to tumble in my exuberantly coloured radishes and some of the chopped coriander. Let's have a little mix up again. Beautiful. And I love eating ginger in strips, just using a vegetable peeler. You get so much heat this way. Good in stir fries as well. And on top of my bowl of deeply flavoured nubbliness, I like the smooth, cool jade clay of an avocado. Beautiful slices of avocado. I'd only ever come across these rice bowls in California, but now they seem everywhere here, and I can see why. I like to top this with a few delicate coriander leaves. It's both calming and uplifting just to look at, as well as to eat. And I shall try not to rupture this mood of serenity by shoveling this down too rambunctiously, but it's hard not to. I cut up leeks and red peppers and drop them into a smallish roasting tin. And I douse with olive oil. I sprinkle over fennel and cumin seeds. Scatter generously with sea salt flakes and smoosh to mix. Then I tumble in a small bowl of cherry tomatoes. And for gentle fruity sharpness, which flavours the juices later, I pour in some orange juice and a little cold water. Then I give it all half an hour in a 220 centigrade oven or 200 with a fan on. So while the leeks, peppers and tomatoes are in the oven, I'm getting on with the spiced bulgur wheat, which partners it so exquisitely. Bit of oil there, olive oil. And just as I had orange juice in with the vegetables, I'm grating the zest of an orange into the oil. And now, well, garlic. There has to be garlic in this arrangement somewhere, and I prefer to cook it with the bulgur wheat. The oven's pretty hot, so grated garlic would burn easily. So here, there is no chance of that. That beautiful golden oil now. I chopped the stalks, the tender stalks, from a small bunch of coriander. I mean, they have exactly the same flavour as the leaves, of course, but maybe they're a touch more herbal tasting. I think of it really as a spice here. But now to the spices proper, and I'm echoing the flavours in the tin of vegetables by starting off with a teaspoon of fennel seeds and, just as in the oven, a teaspoon of cumin seeds. But I'm going a bit further. I want a teaspoon of coriander seeds too, and I love the pops of kind of citrusy pepperiness they give. Finally, before the bulgur wheat goes in the pan, just a little bit of dried chili flakes. This won't give heat, actually, just spicy warmth. This smells so fabulous. Right, the bulgur wheat. I've got 200 grams here, and I'm adding 50 grams of split red lentils because they add a certain earthiness and texture. Let's rake them through. And in it goes. I want to stir it through just so it's lightly slicked with the aromatic oil. And for this amount of bulgur wheat, I've got 375 mils of cold water. You wouldn't think it was cold, but the pan's hot. And of course, I need salt. All I need to do now is wait for this to come to the boil. Although I always eat the spiced bulgur wheat and roast vegetables as a main course, I have to say it makes the most glamorously practical side dish. I mean, you've got the starch and vegetables in one, and all glowingly beautiful. Well, this comes to the boil pretty fast. Turn off the flame, on with the lid, and I'm moving it to a smaller hob so it cooks gently just until the bulgur wheat and the lentils absorb all the water. While I wait for the bulgur wheat, I will keep myself busy in the most undemanding of ways, halving these pink-cheeked radishes, because they are destined for the tray of roast vegetables. When the bulgur wheat's had its time, I take the pan off the heat, remove the lid, cover with a clean tea towel, then clamp the lid back on and let it stand. It's this that makes the bulgur wheat light and fluffy. Now I add the halved radishes to the roasted vegetables and pop the tin back in the oven for 10 minutes or so. I promised you a sauce, and you'll soon see why indeed it's known as pink sauce in my house. It's made with full-fat Greek yogurt, its tangy coolness balanced with the warmth of ginger and garlic and the heat of chili. And you could equally well use oat milk creme fraiche here. To avoid a touch of the Lady Macbeths, I glove up before handling my beetroot, which I've roasted wrapped in foil for a couple of hours in a very hot oven and left to cool. I add this with its earthy sweetness, along with an exuberant sprinkling of salt, then blitz till smooth. The bulgur wheat's been steaming. The roast vegetables have been sitting out of the oven, so they're warm rather than piping hot, just the way I like them. And I am ready to bring the two together as they're meant to be. So first, just want to fluff the bulgur wheat up a bit with a fork. And you can see that having sat under the tea towel for so long, it's wonderfully fluffy. This is such a good-natured dish. The bulgur wheat doesn't mind how long it sits under its tea towel. The vegetables are better for standing out of the oven. And in fact, I often cook this when I'm feeding people I have learnt are not usually punctual. Just going to spoon it gently into the bowl. You can see how much it swells when it cooks. I'm going to add some of the roast vegetables now, not a lot, but a third of them. And stir them through the bulgur wheat so it's softly studded with them. Some coriander at this stage too. And now the rest of the roast vegetables I spoon succulently on top. You can see at the end, the juices are quite thick now, and that's because the pan stood out of the oven. Just a little glaze. This is a beautiful enough bowlful just as it is, but I can't resist a pink squiggle of the beetroot sauce. Not too much. Final bit of coriander. You know, this is food to brighten up even the darkest day.